Grab a seat. Thank you so much. You know, I am really excited to share with you some of the information that I have tonight on developing a leadership lens. You see, in any enterprise, in any type of business, you're going to have to, first of all, realize that you got to develop the right thinking so that you can see the world the way a leader sees the world. Let me give you the 4 type of lens that you can see in the world. Most people, when they're born, without the right training and the right thinking, will develop what I call a victim lens. And here's what a victim lens. They see the world and they think things, no one's helping me, and, you know, I never had an opportunity, and I don't have a chance, and, you know, everybody else, they've got better opportunities, but under my circumstances, under all the situations I'm going through, it wouldn't work for me. And how many people have met some people that are wearing the victim lens, right? Here's why we know they're wearing a victim lens. Because for every person I've ever met that describes all the situations why they can't make it work, I've met someone else that had worse circumstances, worse situations that made it. And so if the situation by itself was the real cause, then everyone with those situations wouldn't make it. And yet some do. So I said, well, then they have the same situations, but they're seeing things differently. The lens. Let me give you an example of a lens. Imagine going into those 3D movies. If you go into a 3D movie, but when everybody's walking in, you grab those 3D glasses, but you're like, I'm not going to put these on. They look dorky. I'm going to watch the movie, but I'm not going to put them on. So you're just sitting there eating your popcorn, and then everybody else that's put them on, they're like, whoa! And they're like trying to get out of the way, and they're like, man, what are they getting out? Oh, okay, I'll put them on. And when you put them on, you're watching the same movie, but you're getting a totally different effect because you weren't wearing the same lens as the people that had the 3D lens on. In the same way, people can live the same life, the same situations, but with a different lens, they see an opportunity where others saw problems. And so if you're going to be a leader in life, we got to help you develop the perspectives to get a leadership lens. We do not want you to have a victim lens in life. Now, some people get past the victim lens, and they've learned a few principles, and they put on the follower lens. And the follower lens is, who's going to help me? Which way is everybody going? Because I want to make sure I go. They want to fit in. Their biggest fear is stepping out, being different than the crowd. But here's the problem with the follower lens in life. If all you do is what everyone else is doing, you're probably going to get what everyone else is getting. Now, if you want what everybody else is getting, then great. Just keep following that path and you're going to get it. But if you want something different than the average person gets, you're probably going to have to do something the average person's not doing. So you're going to have to look at that follower lens. And each of these lenses, by the way, you have to recognize that you are responsible for what lens you are wearing. If you are wearing the victim lens, you are the only person that can take them off and keep them off. If you are wearing a follower lens, you are the only person that can take them off and keep them off. The third lens, performer lens. This person's moving up. Each of these, from the victim lens to a follower, you moved up. From the follower to the performer lens. This is the type of person that the wording would be something like this. Hey, I'm going to get it done. I'm just going to go out there and get it done. Whatever it takes, I will do it. That's fantastic. And I think it's a necessary thing to be moving up and get to the performer level. But a performer level will never accomplish and really leave a legacy, which is what I want to help you do tonight. I want to give you the principles and the perspectives necessary to leave a legacy in your life. That's right, a legacy. Meaning that people will say your name. Think about it. When you say the name Abraham Lincoln, most people recognize that name, right? He left a legacy. So if he left a legacy, I know he had to be wearing a leadership lens. You take a look at any of the George Washington, he left a legacy. He was wearing a leadership lens. A performer lens won't get there because the performer's about themselves, not about a team. To be a leader, it's got to go beyond the performer. It's got to go to the point where it's not I will get it done, it's we will get it done. It's what we're going to accomplish. It's what we're going to do. A leadership lens is the highest level. It sees the world totally different than any of the other lenses. Because a leader, when they put on that lens, every situation they look is not, can I get through this? It's how do we get through this? If they were on a boat and there was an accident on the boat and they had to get off, they wouldn't think, how can I get off the boat? They'd think, how do I get everyone off the boat? It's a leadership lens. And so we want to teach Americans and the rest of the world that first of all, that there are different lenses to wear. And secondly, that you are responsible for the lens you put on. So let me walk you through the legacy ladder. Let me walk you through the steps. If we were to take a look at moving up from beginning level all the way up to your legacy up here on the high side, there's steps to this process that you're going to have to go through. We want to walk you through the perspectives necessary. And the first three perspectives are the perspectives of self. These are self perspectives that are necessary for you to grow as an individual and to get the perspectives necessary to start to think the way a leader would think with a leadership lens. So number one is the change perspective. You're going to have to learn that change is a given. So many people resist change. I'm going to fight change, but it changes. Everything changes. In fact, the only constant is change. When you are resisting change, it's like life is like going into a raft and being pushed out into the water. And the river's going to take you downstream. Life's going to happen. And if you resist the stream, you're not going to stop it. But you're just not going to enjoy much of the journey. The first perspective is you're going to have to recognize in life that change is going to happen. Are you going to capitalize on those changes and actually start to enjoy the change process? You can take the rapids, and by working with them, you can get through so many situations that others are kicking and screaming. I mean, life happens, right? I mean, there's that famous statement, I think if I'd paraphrase it, doo-doo occurs. Right? Some of you get that later. Okay. But it's going to happen. The question is, are you going to thrive on change, or are you going to resist change? If you take a look at the victim lens, they're constantly resisting change. You take a look at the follower. He's like, hey, somebody else has got to deal with the change. I'm just going wherever they go. The performer says, well, I'll deal with the change. The rest of you, I don't know. But the leader wants to be on the edge. The leader wants to be out front, getting hit with the change first and thriving on that and making decisions for the good of the overall community. You say, oh, but that'd be scary. I recognize it takes courage to lead. But you have that courage inside of you. And I encourage you to step up to the change plate and recognize that change is going to happen and that you not only can handle it, but you can thrive on that change. The second self-perspective, character. There are things that are going to be constantly changing. Those are the external situations around you. But there are some certain unchanging principles at the core of who you are, and that's your character. You've got to be the type person. If you're going to be a leader, your team has to trust you. If you're going to be a leader, your team has to know that you're willing to take shots for them. That you don't make decisions as a performer would, that it might be good for them and bad for everybody else. No, not the leader. Not someone that has character. Someone with character, when they say they're going to do something, they're going to follow through on what they do. And it's going to become where your team can start to trust you. You have to earn character. It has to build. It's a trust that's developed. Love and respect are given to every individual. In any community, you should give them love and you should give them respect. Treat them with respect and have love in your heart and encouragement for every human being. But trust has to be earned. You've got to earn the trust of your community as a leader. People follow you not because they have to, but because they want to, because your character has preceded you. Do you have that type of character? And if you don't, then start today in developing that. You know how you begin with character? Start following through on personal commitments. Stephen Covey said that discipline many times is mind over mattress. If you say you're going to get up at 7 o'clock, then get up at 7 o'clock. If you say you're going to get up at 8 o'clock, then get up at 8 o'clock. Follow through on the commitments you made to yourself. Because how can you have character and follow through with commitments to others when you won't even follow through on the commitments you made to yourself? That's the beginning of character. And it's so important because your team knows. Your community will know if you don't have character. That can't be hidden. They'll find that out very quickly. If you say that you're going to be at a meeting, you said, I'll meet you at 8 o'clock, we'll sit down and talk, and you show up at 8:30, you know, hey, that might happen once. It might be a train wreck or whatever, something happens and you can't get there. But if that starts happening every time, and if it gets to the point where they said they'd be there at 8 and they do a mental calculation, that means 8:30, then that means you're losing character, you're losing trust with someone in your community. So we got to develop character. And I'll tell you, if you do that, you just do these first two. You put on the lens and recognize that change is going to happen, and you put on a lens but there's certain unchangeable parts in your core. It's who you are, and you're going to follow through. Yeah, but Orrin, what if I know that this is the right thing to do, but I know that could hurt me? I know that that might be financially, it might hurt me, or I might be criticized by some people. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. If you look and say, if it's right, then you do what's right. The third, priorities. If you see, all three of these deal with you. These are self-perspectives. Priorities. What are the priorities in your life? You prioritize your spiritual life and you say, okay, that's a priority. There's a certain amount of things that I'm going to do in that area. I'm going to make sure that I go to church on Sunday. I'm going to make sure I do this. And you put those priorities in place. And you make sure you follow through on that priority. And then you go to your second level. Okay, well, I've got my family. And you go through, and these are priority things that I want to do. I want to make sure that I attend my children's recital. I want to make sure I do this. And you put those in. And the priorities are similar to rocks. You've got to put the biggest rocks into the jar first. And after you put those big rocks into the jar, then you say, all right, now I'm going to take the smaller rocks, and I'm going to put those in. Then I'm going to put the pebbles in. Then I'm going to put the sand in. And then I'm going to be able to pour some water on top of that. And if you put them in the order of priority, you'll find that you can get the big rocks in there. But if you put the sand in first or the water in first, by the time you get to trying to put the big rocks into the jar, there's no room for them. Do you know how many people live their whole life and they never live their life with a specific intent, with priorities? If you just take those first three, it would radically change your life. Have you ever sat down and thought what your priorities were? We live in an age where we have more information than ever before and less thinking than ever before. You can't have priorities without thinking for yourself. Nobody else can tell you what your priorities are. You have to determine your priorities by sitting down and asking what is important to you and starting to list them out. And when you get those self-perspectives, you have now graduated to the next level. You've graduated to the success perspectives. Number 4, the growth cycle. The growth cycle. The growth cycle is plan, do, check, and adjust. PDCA. Rotating that pattern over and over and over again in your life. You've got to plan it. What is your plan to grow? In whatever you're doing, in whatever business, a business that's not growing is dying. What is your plan to grow? And then once you have a plan, the best plans in the world with no action behind it are nothing. You've got to do the plan. And every plan should have a predicted result. If I do this, this, and this should be the outcome. And the only way you'll know is if your plan is actually effective is by doing the plan and then checking the results to say, did my plan, if I said I'm going to go and if you're a salesperson, you said I'm going to make 5 phone calls. Well, these 5 phone calls should produce some results. Or maybe I got to make 20 appointments and it's going to do this. Or maybe you set a goal if you're a manufacturing plant that we're going to run first time through this percentage and you have a predicted result. If we do this, 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 we think we can get our first time through to this amount. You plan it. You do it. You check it. And then the one that separates the haves from the have-nots. If they check the result and they didn't get the result they want, this is where most people fail. They say, I tried it and it didn't work. I'm a failure. Well, Thomas Edison, when he was attempting to build a light bulb, failed 1,000 sometimes before his first success. Or did he really just do a PDCA 1,000 times until he finally discovered the right combination that worked? See, had Thomas Edison at any one point said, I'm a failure, then he would have stopped. But he understood whether he called it PDCA or not, he was truly doing the growth cycle. Planning it, doing it, checking it, and adjusting it. In any business, in any family, you want to improve, man, we want to improve our family time. We want to improve the relationships in our family. Great. Set a plan. Do the plan. Check the plan. And then adjust where necessary. If you can have a predicted result, you can do a plan and say, if our plan works, we expect this to happen. And that can be applied into any area. Man, I want to get in better shape. Great. Come up with a plan. Do the plan. I refer back to the mind over mattress. Check the results and adjust where necessary. And that growth cycle, imagine wearing the lens where no longer is it a failure if you don't get the predicted result. It's a learning experience. Because you've learned yet another way, another plan that won't work, on your way to discovering the plan that will. So now you've got your self perspectives and you got the growth cycle, your first of the success perspectives. Just imagine if you did PDCA in every area, how much more you would learn. Because by having a plan, you're guaranteed to learn something by checking it. People say, well, you know, I've got 30 years experience at this job. But actually, they don't have 30 years experience. They have 1 year's experience 30 times. Because they're not doing a PDCA. They're doing a D. I'm just doing, well, what are you doing? Well, I'm doing what I did yesterday. And over, I'm doing what I did the first year on year 27. Can't figure out why it's not working, why I'm not growing. Where somebody else in a couple years might actually learn more than someone with 30 years because they've been rotating through PDCAs a couple times a week. And imagine if you start doing PDCAs in all the different areas of your life, with your friends, you're improving your relationships, in your spiritual life, with your family, with your health, with your finances. And you can start to see where that can, number 4, that growth cycle can take off in an incredible direction. Number 5, attitude. Attitude. If you're going to accomplish and leave a legacy, you're going to have to develop an attitude of I will until. Life will knock you down. Life will knock you down. The question is, do you have the attitude, the will to get back up? Winston Churchill said, success is going from failure to failure with a good attitude. Almost describing the PDCA process, isn't he? He also said, success is not how far down you go when you fail, it's how far you bounce when you hit bottom. That's an attitude. Do you have that type of attitude? Do you have that type of, man, life can't keep me down. It may be able to knock me down, but it can't keep me down. All the greatest champions that I've ever met, you knew when Tiger Woods is going into the last round and he might be down a stroke, you don't think he's saying, darn it, why am I down? I thought I'd be up the best. He's like, they might have had me the first couple rounds, but this round is mine. When John Elway would come out, there's just a couple minutes left and his Denver Broncos were down. The other team was like, doggone it, why's it got to be Elway? Because he was going out there saying, we may be down, but we are not out, and we're going to finish this. When Michael Jordan, with 2 seconds left and the Chicago Bulls are at half court, the other team's like, why's it got to be the Bulls? Because all of them had an attitude. And yet if you look, Michael Jordan didn't hit every last second shot. And Elway didn't run his team down the field and score a touchdown every time. And Tiger Woods hasn't come back every time in the last round. Yet their attitude was, oh yeah, I'm going to do it. If you don't have that attitude that you are going to win. Now, are you going to win every time? No, but you got to have the attitude that this time is mine. Do you remember in the Miracle movie as Herb Brooks? He said, when we play the Russians, 9 times out of 10, they'd beat us, but not tonight. That's an attitude. You're going to be a champion. You're going to leave a legacy. You're going to have to develop that type of attitude. And it's not a one-day thing. It's an everyday thing. You want to associate as much as you can through good books, through good CDs, with that type of attitude. The last of the success perspectives, delayed gratification. Our world today is infatuated with the immediate. Our world today has to have it. I mean, you go in, you want some ice cream. You go to this certain place and one of the things says, gotta have it. That's immediate gratification, you know. You're driving down the road, I gotta have it, you know. And I'm not picking on them, but it's that immediate gratification. The advertisements on TV don't say, when you've saved up the money, come in and see us. It's not what it says, is it? It says, no, you can't afford it, no problem, we already knew that. That's why we have financing. Yes, 72-year financing this week only. And if you don't pay it off before you die, no problem. Will it to your kids. It's sad but true. The idea of waiting. It's something you want. Well, but Orrin, I want it so bad. That's fine. Delay your gratification. Every champion has learned the principle. Every champion starts working out. If they're in athletics, for example, they might be working out today. They might start a summer routine. Their first game, if it's football, they start working out in the summer. Their first game's not even until September. The first time they even start keeping score, yet here it is June. And they're working like crazy, knowing that if they work hard in June, that'll pay off in September. There are businesses where they're doing work today knowing that in 2, 3, 4 years it may pay off. That's delayed gratification. But if you have an instant gratification, you're like, oh, a 2 to 5 year plan? I can't do a 2 to 5 year plan. I need a 2 to 5 day plan. But nothing great occurs in 2 to 5 days. Mighty oak trees take time to grow, but they produce a lot of acorns. If you want a tomato, you can plant it, and it takes the summertime, but then it's gone. But things that are built to last require delayed gratification. That's a principle. That's a lens you have to put on. And I'm telling you, you're not learning that from the world. You watch the TV, you listen to most people, hey, yeah, I couldn't afford it, but I could finance it. You go looking to buy a new car, and if your thought is, well, how much does it cost per month? You still don't understand what I just said. Delayed gratification. Maybe you have to drive a car that's a little bit less than what you want for a few years, but eventually you'll save so much on interest that you'll be able to pay cash for that car down the road. Delayed gratification, number 6, is a necessary step, a necessary perspective in developing and leaving a legacy. So now we've climbed through the 6 bars of the legacy ladder. Now let's move to the last 3. Significance perspectives. Significance. You've changed. You've developed character. You prioritize. You've learned the growth cycle. Your attitude. Delayed gratification. You've got the lens all the way through the success perspectives. Number 7, a servant's spirit. So many people today feel that, man, when I get that position, I'm going to be the leader and I get to tell everybody what to do. And so many people think a leader leads through power. Say, yeah, he's got power, man. If he says you're fired, they're fired. If he says this, and they think that that's leadership. That's not leadership. That's dictatorship. Leadership's based upon authority, not power. Power is I do it because I'm afraid of what will happen if I don't. Authority-based leadership is I do it because this person has earned my trust. I know they care about me, and I know that they're telling me or asking me to do this for my own good. They're serving me. As a leader in your community, do you care as much, actually even more, for your team's success than you do your own? Do you care so much about your team's success that you're willing to delay your own success, delayed gratification, for your teams? Do you have that type of servant spirit? Are you willing to share or even bypass all of the credit and recognition for someone else in your team? Or do you have to be the guy or the gal? Because the servant spirit says, it's amazing what can be accomplished when we don't care who gets the credit. The servant spirit says, look, if the team wins and I don't score a point, my role has to be tonight that I don't score a point to ensure the team wins. Fine, then I don't score a point. Because winning is more important than any individual statistics. That's someone who's understanding, playing a part on a team. A team wins when there's unity, when there's a servant spirit, when there's a willingness to give to others, serve them. Leaders are servants. Leaders are not dictators. And I know that's not what the world's teaching, but that's the facts. People will follow you because you've earned their trust, because they know people do not care how much you know until they know how much you care. Number 8, you're going to leave a legacy. You're going to climb the legacy ladder. You're going to learn to be a talent scout. Everybody who joins your community has gifts and skills. If you were to look at a football team, not everybody on the football team is going to be able to throw the football 75 yards. That's not everybody's gifts. But they have gifts. Wouldn't it be crazy for the fullback to tease the quarterback because he can't run or block as well. Wouldn't be crazy for the wide receiver to tease the offensive lineman because he can't catch the ball as well. A talent scout recognizes the abilities, the gifts, and the skills of everybody in their team or community, and then focuses on getting them to play their strengths. And by having a team, somebody else's strengths will protect your weaknesses. That's when you create that unity that creates explosive organizations, explosive communities that leave a legacy. Look at all the organizations, look at all the causes that have left the legacies. Is when they started getting not just the right people on the bus, as Jim Collins says, but getting the right people on the right seat on the bus. If you're going to be a leader and wearing that leadership lens, it's no longer, well, I can go do this and I can go do that. We know you can. You've already passed the success perspectives. But now we're talking about a team, a community, and leaving a legacy. The lens you're wearing isn't what you can do, it's what can your team do. The lens you're wearing is how do I orchestrate everybody's individual strengths into a team that accomplishes way more. There's synergy in applying each other's gifts. 1 + 1 + 1 is not 3 on a team. 1 + 1 + 1 can be thousands. Or 9 × 9 × 9. It's not 27. There's a multiplying effect, a synergy, when you start to recognize and lift up other people's strengths. Be a talent scout and recognize that some people are ready to play in the majors and others may be on the farm team. In Major League Baseball, they've developed a whole system. They have an A league, they have a AA league, they have a AAA, and they have the majors. And there might be someone that's down playing A ball. Maybe they're young, not established yet. But if you start to plant some seeds, some encouragement, pointing out their strengths, pointing out their gifts, get them the right coaching, they may be an all-star for 25 years on your team. Isn't it a shame when people don't have that talent scout lens on? All they see is a young kid that can't hit the curveball, instead of seeing that all-star performer with a little bit of nourishment and encouragement. If you're going to leave a legacy, you got to recognize that it's not going to be done alone. If you're going to leave a legacy, you're going to need to build a team, a community of leaders. It's going to require you being a talent scout and seeing other people's gifts. You know that many people live their whole life. Many people live their whole life and never have one genuine encourager for them. One of the biggest roles I feel that I play in my leadership journey is to be the biggest cheerleader of other people's gifts and talents. I study and review my communities, looking for talent so that I can point out that talent to the individual. And when I do that, some of them are shocked. They never knew it because nobody had taken the time to tell them. Well, why didn't they ever tell them? I mean, they had that gift all that time because they weren't wearing the talent scout lens. They weren't wearing the leadership lens. They were too busy focusing on them to notice somebody else. In fact, if they did notice it, they felt threatened by it. A performer's threatened by other people's gifts because they see that as a competitor, not as a teammate. Number 9, if you're going to leave a legacy, teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work. Show me any organization that's left a legacy. What Ray Kroc built with McDonald's. He didn't do it by himself. He built a whole organization that did something great. What Sam Walton did with Walmart, he didn't do it by himself. He built a whole organization that was focused on the goals. And they played a team game. As a leader, you are a servant. As a leader, you are a talent scout. And as a leader, you bring people into the organization that fit in with the culture, that it's not all about them, it's all about the team. It's all about the community. When you get a whole bunch of incredibly talented people that will take their individual agendas and merge it into a teamwork type goal, greatness occurs. So few times in a person's life, some never, will experience that greatness. It's when a group of talented individuals merge their individual gifts into a team game to accomplish something that's never been accomplished before. It's going to take everybody bringing their gifts and saying, not individual ego, but team ego. What can the community accomplish? When the United States went into World War II, they were a divided country all the way up to Pearl Harbor. There were many that had very good reasons why they shouldn't go to war. And there was another group that had very good reasons why they should go to war. And there was division and there was no unity. Many talented individuals, but no unity. But on December 7th, 1941, when Pearl Harbor was attacked, a divided country united, and they became a team. And they had a battle, the Japanese in the Pacific, and they had a battle, the Germans and the Italians in Europe. But they united around a common cause, that they are going to keep the world free. And what we need in America and in the world is a group of leaders, a group of people that will throw away the victim lens, that will throw away the follower lens, and even throw away the performer lens, and unite around a common cause of liberty and opportunity for all. God bless you guys.